The Rolls-Royce Wraith is today on Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars. The special luxury episode with me, with Thomas, and we'll give you a basic overview of the Rolls-Royce models, just how you know which one is this then of all the models they have. They don't have too much, but at least a lot of different versions. And we're going to give you an extensive overview of the exterior features, the interior, all the luxury inside, and of course, how does this Wraith actually drive? So let's get started with this special luxury episode. Then it's also closing. Kind of decadent actually, but it works. Let's continue with the cockpit. One very good aspect for a coupe is the seat belt, actually very well accessible because it's attached to the seat and not far back there. That's actually a quite good thing. And then, as I said earlier, you can actually also go for other materials, but I would definitely go for wood in the Rolls-Royce. Just maybe not this shiny surface. You know, I really prefer this kind of matte wood, which you can also touch very well. And with the open cell, open pore, this one here is of course with a closed style and also shines a little bit. For example, when there's sunshine, a lot of these elements can also reflect the sun. For example, also the door, the clock here, the big clock, and especially the aluminum elements around it. This can really reflect, and then you got this in your eyes, and that's not actually too good. Then, what else can we see here? This is the infotainment screen. There's a separate button for it, and then it can also open. Maybe again, there it is. Also slides back very smoothly, and they have really paid attention to that. You see all the way it moves back. Also, everything in here, when you get it back and then let it slide again, a very smooth process. And these details, they really have to pay attention to it because the customers of Rolls-Royce really demand it. I would have made the steering wheel a little bit slimmer, and also when we're going in the driving experience, I would have liked a little bit of kind of director experience with the steering wheel, although we are in the high-class luxury car. What I like with the color is that everything is in bright color here. You can of course pick any color. I've seen very ugly photos as well where the whole interior was green. Ooh, I would never go for that, but maybe you would. Then post me in the comments. I would go for this bright color. Just as I said earlier, I would not take the real animal skin. And what is actually very good also with colors is that we got the bright stuff beneath the dashboard, but black on the dashboard. And that's again very important for the reflections, because if you have the bright dashboard, for example, older Porsche Cayenne had that quite often, or Jaguar XK. With the total bright dashboard, you're off just because of the camera, frame rate, and actually offers a good overview, also gives you GPS information. We got the BMW infotainment system here, so it's Emily is in front of this one here, but then it's controlled is the same as in the BMW. You turn it here and then press to activate something, and you also got shortcuts to the menu, GPS, map options back. Kind of easy, and also as a driver well controllable. And there it is. For example, you can connect your phone via Bluetooth, pick the radio or the GPS, and it's actually good that they can pick something from the BMW parts bin, because you're also used to the GPS system. Then you can, for example, also pick a new destination here. And well, we've seen other luxury manufacturers who have very old school GPS systems, and that was really like, oh, I'm paying 300,000 euros for a car, and then what is that? But here it's all fine, and we can, for example, also see the consumption, and that's about 18 liters on 100 kilometers, so don't expect less there. I have actually searched for a flaw, which is kind of hard here in the Rolls-Royce interior, but in this middle armrest console, first of all, well, I don't really need this old telephone switch here, and there's also not too much space. But then, you know, about the cover here, it's like when you move it up here, it falls down again automatically, and that's kind of, no. Here it's actually fixed then, but like here, I don't know. Then we can talk ages about this interior. For example, also the window control, everything else, of course, in real metal and also high class. Although you still want to have this old school look if you buy this car. Then below here, we got the controls for the seat, memory seats, and also two kinds of form for the seat massage. And finally, what else? We got the air suspension where you can also pick the niveau. So we can lower the car to load passengers or stuff. And we can also put it higher, for example, if we want more ground clearance, when there's maybe bumpy road or something like that, then you can put also the suspension, the whole car a little bit higher. If you want to get out of the car, you have to do it manually, and then you need some power because the heavy doors really take some strength to open them. And then let's get in the back of the car. It's not a usual position, it's not a chauffeur car, but Rolls-Royce increasingly has customers who also want to drive the car. And I mean, I can understand it. If you spend 280,000 euros, that's the price for this car, for example, in Germany, for a car, then you really also want to drive it on your own, or wouldn't you? So, and however, you got these kind of emergency seats here. If you want more space, then you have to go for the Ghost, the sedan version of this very car. Just remember the Wraith, the coupe style, and the Dawn, the new convertible of this car. And well, it does actually work to sit in the back. The car is still 5.26 meters long, so I still got room for my knees, that's quite okay. And also the headspace, that does work. And for example, also a difference to the Bentley GTC or for example, the Mercedes S-Class Coupe. There you have less space. Here it's actually quite okay. So it could partially be still a chauffeur car then. And you also got all the same controls here, for example, the climate controls in double split form. You also got in the front for the rear passengers, and also some beverage holders or space in the middle console. That also works. And you can very well enjoy the star ceiling here. Now let's ride this V12 6.5 liter. Of course, it's a very heavy car, as I said before, almost 2.5 tons. And so it also feels very heavy when driving. So you can just forget when you think, okay, I got a V12, so I drive sporty. Well, yes, in the front, that does work with 4.6 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers. That's fast, yes. But for example, when you hammer the brakes, you feel, oh, I have to brake 2.5 tons, and well, that's really a lot. And especially on the motorway, when you get high speeds, then you really realize it. And as soon as you also want to drive corners kind of fast, like here, the steering wheel is, well, kind of loose, so no sporty feeling at all. And it's also not the focus of the car, of course. So you need kind of long steering ways. Also, you see there almost nothing is happening. And with the air suspension, the car's also going to left and right and back again. And that is really all focused on the comfort. So this car is really good when you want to go long ways, well, also on the motorway if you don't go too fast and because too dangerous because of the high weight. But you can really relax your calm ride. That should be your main focus when buying this car, because this air suspension is just evening out everything. No matter what is on the road, you always keep on going like on a flying carpet. And well, I think it can't be any more comfortable. But of course, it could be way sportier then. So, especially thinking of the BMW Corporation, there can never be a question of a BMW 7 Series or this one here, because the cars have totally different focuses. So, and when it gets a little bit narrow on the road, that's also another disadvantage. You always think about, oh, do I touch something on the left or at the right, because the car is also, well, not that good in the visibility, and especially to the rear. Also, when you look at the back mirror, then it's just very slim with this very flat rear window, can't hardly see anything. And also to the front, to the left and to the right, yeah, the car is really huge and you do feel that. So this is really a disadvantage when driving such a big car then. The seats, again, I've told you that in the interior review, they are definitely comfortable. Yes, I have experienced more comfortable seats also on the long term, but of course you also have a lot of different variations how you can actually adjust the seat or also use the seat massage while driving. And then, yeah, it's always when you're in corner, you're kind of working around the steering wheel because it's not directly transmitting what you give as an input. So I would like, because also very huge sedans, if you think now about the premium segment, Audi A8, even if they are like 20 or 30 centimeters slower, they can also do that. The steering wheel input is very direct, and I would wish that here, because that has nothing to do with comfort or no comfort. It's just better when you have a better control of the car actually. Then when you got to plain roads, it's really, you don't really feel the road. It's really like you're flying on it, and that is very special, of course, about this serial air suspension here. And also when you're facing red traffic lights, you most of the time don't even care, because you're really relaxed in here, and also the sound insulation is, as we expected, very good, so you don't hardly hear anything from the outside. It's really a relaxation zone in here. And as I said earlier, also focus on the driver and the co-driver, because behind me not so many people could sit actually, so I wouldn't go on a long term with 4 people actually. So it's more really like for if you go alone, always 2 guys. Yeah, then for example the sounds the car is making when I turn the indicators now, it's also relatively silent, also not arousing too much attention, just from the sounds the car makes also when you press buttons. I think that fits to the concept. However, now if I want to make a U-turn here, for example, I have to go not on the very inner lane, but take the lane beside that and then across that one, because I wouldn't be able to do the U-turn otherwise, because the car has also this above this 3 meters of wheelbase, and that's really hard to control then. So just to show you how this air suspension reacts when you go left and right, for example here now, you see that the car is going like woo, woo, woo. That's of course a very great feeling when you're searching this comfort, but of course you shouldn't connect the V12 to sportiness. I think that's the main point here really. So what would you think? Would you like to drive a Rolls-Royce, or would you rather say, oh well, I want to drive something sportier anyway, so I don't really care? Put that one in the comments. I would really be looking forward to that. When controlling the infotainment system, told about that in the interior review as well. It's actually quite good that they orient on this BMW infotainment system, because you can get along with it very well if you know the BMW systems then. And that can also be very well controlled by the driver, because it's not a touchscreen, but you just use the central stick here below then, and that's also no problem in doing something while driving. We also got all of the assistance system that BMW is currently offering. For example, the adaptive cruise control, which I've tested it on the motorway, is really working flawlessly. I also have a good view on the head-up display. I can activate or deactivate it. Then I would have the GPS information down here that you could change. I can also show you that. So I can activate, deactivate the HUD here. And if I would have GPS info, it would be according here then. The look here on the instruments, it's a little bit, well, you have to get used to it, because it's kind of flat. It doesn't go way in as we use from other cars actually. But so they also decide about the assistance system, because I thought, okay, it's really not a chauffeur car. You should drive this Rolls-Royce on your own. And so we also integrate all these systems here that, for example, keep you on the road, warn you when you getting off the lane, for example, then you get a lane warning. And the adaptive cruise control also works in traffic. I was in huge traffic yesterday, and that did also actually a great job, because I could kind of relax a little bit more, and then the distance to the car in front of me was really kept. Yeah, and about the engine, of course, for such a heavy car you need a lot of power. Do you really need the V12 with 632 horsepower? Well, something smaller would also have been totally okay. If you want to hear it, how it sounds on the inside and how the performance is, I can now also push the throttle. Yeah, there you hear it. It does have a lot of power, and it sets in after like see, because of the weight of the car, it's not that really this totally explosive acceleration. So it needs like half a second to really set in then. But of course, for such a heavy car, this is still a very impressive performance. Most of the time, however, you won't really need that kind of performance because, as I said earlier, it's all about the luxury and the comfort also in driving. Now to the conclusion of the Rolls-Royce Wraith. I think this trend that more and more customers of Rolls-Royce want to drive the car themselves, I think it's just logical, and I think it's the right strategy also go for the so-called shorter cars. I mean, with over 5 meters, the car is never short, but maybe they will even increase this kind of stuff in the future. I think it would be quite good actually, because you have to remember, it's still a huge car, even if it's the smallest Rolls-Royce. And also while driving, you do have a disadvantage there because it feels kind of bulky when driving. So it would also be cool, for example, Bentley has also made that the car also in some kind of way also feel a little bit sporty. And I would expect that from this one here now in the future. Not because I don't really get the point that it's all about the comfort. I've told you that. That's, I think, kind of natural to this kind of brand. But why not also having a rather direct steering or something like that can also help you in the comfortable driving then. Yes, with the air suspension, everything is set on comfort and you really can't argue about that one. Also, I think I could very well imagine that they maybe offer a V8 inside there because that would also surely be enough. On the interior, everything is very well processed, and I also found it quite good that they use the BMW systems because they are also good as for the infotainment system. So you got a modern stuff in there as well. Also, especially for this brand, I like it that the customers actually can choose anything they want to, especially from the surface materials. So I would also be happy then if I could order my Rolls-Royce with the Alcantara seats. Yeah, and then about the exterior, you see it's special with this suicide doors. That is really unique to this car and differentiates it from any other on the market. Well, maybe the BMW i3 also got suicide, but just on the rear side then. But it's very special that you also got suicide doors, even if it are just 2 doors actually. Everything else on the exterior is rather in this classic vintage style. There it's really about, do you like it or don't you like it? I'm not so into the vintage design for modern cars. There I think it should be really left on with the really old cars. But what's your opinion on that one? Leave me that in the comments. So, and I want to know, of course, in general, what you think about the car, about the exterior, interior, and also the driving. And would you go for a Rolls-Royce if you had all the money in the world? Also put me that one in the comments. Or what else car would you actually go for? And now let's close these 2 suicide doors again and enjoy some more time with the Rolls-Royce. And meanwhile while you wait on the next review, maybe just browse some other reviews we have already done so far. You also find a playlist from our full reviews always in the video description. Just click that playlist and you will find plenty of other reviews, or just put in the search Autogefühl and then any model you want. I think we got so many hundreds of videos, then you really will find also your desired model. See you next time on Autogefühl with Thomas. Bye. Thanks for watching.